I just saw it go live. So welcome everybody to the George Mason University Green Machine edition, or the Mason Arts at Home series. And my name is Dr. Michael Nickens, and I'm the director of all things Green Machine at George Mason University. And I'm here with my senior media producer, Joshua Cruse.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? Thanks for tuning in with us today.
And so, so we're just going to tell you a little bit about what we do. And mainly it's anything that's kind of like marching band that happens at the university, and other things that make sense to throw together with it. And the reason I feel like it's so important that it's like we get a chance to do this presentation and to have Joshua Cruse with me is because of how important the video, our video production machine is part of the program and helps us get where we're going and become who we're trying to be. Especially in this time, it's such a beautiful thing that we have a bank of videos that we can show. So why don't we go to the first video and y'all can see what I'm talking about. It gets me excited. There's a
lot of
decade worth of footage, and I think it's important for me to say right off the bat, there's a bunch of faces in there that are graduating, this month, and I just want to put my deepest thanks to them for becoming part of us and all of their contributions. Congratulations, class of 2020. Y'all made all the difference in making this amazing experience for everybody in this amazing program. And you have my deepest gratitude. So thinking back, some of the things that just flashed by you, we didn't start the video project until a couple of years in, but to just kind of give you an idea of where this whole program came from, we found evidence going all the way back to the 60s of some form of pep bands at George Mason in some fashion, performing at a Mason Day thing, starting to show up at men's basketball games, and then that amped up over time. And then, of course, the magical 2006 season when the men's basketball team went to the Final Four, there was already a very strong student pep band in place. In fact, I'll never forget my first time I got together with them for rehearsal, and just how amazing the energy, and they had such a great idea of what they were trying to accomplish, and it had just a lot of great practices in place to get them there. And so I very thankful that I got a chance to interact with that and take it, hopefully just take it beyond. At the same time, there was a student run winter guard happening, and when I met some of those members and started thinking about what the future would be like. If there's a winter guard on campus, it should be part of a. We talk about the Green Machine as it's the athletic bands of George Mason. So a winter guard seems to fit quite nicely in that. And then the idea that the all the energy that a college marching band brings to a campus and to a community we could do it as with the basketball band as the basis of that. And so we started to add stuff. I got together with Chris Martin, and we dreamed about a competitive drum line. So we built that, and that's gotten more and more competitive over the years. They've done a great job being more competitive every year. And then there have been little splinter groups. There's been there's a fife and drum corps. You know, we got our 18th century covered. There's a Civil War era brass band. Our 19th centuries covered. We have a New Orleans style brass band, early 20th centuries covered. And so we're just sort of doing a full survey of things that are marching band. And then of course the pep band, the repertoire of the pep band demands that we have, you know, a robust activity around popular music, funk, R&B, hip hop styles, rock, and we blend all that together with anything else we can think of. It's kind of like marching bands, kind of like rock bands. And then all that, the story needs to be told. So then Josh Cruse comes to school, and we start, you know, messing around with ideas. And before we know it, we have a whole media program going. And Josh, tell them a little bit about how that comes together.
Yeah, so I started filming with Green Machine. I guess it was back in 2013, so 7 years ago. Started at an event at the Fairfax County Government Center, actually, and I know a lot more now than I knew then. So I went, and I had a couple friends who were in the band, and so I got them to do all the interviews because I wasn't very good at walking up to strangers and being like, "Hey, will you talk on camera?" And so from there we just covering all those groups that Doc mentioned, and just, you know, getting to see the growth of the ensembles year over year. That's kind of been the trajectory that we aim to cover every season, and it's really great to see how the members grow, how our team grows, how the staff grows, how everybody, you know, progresses throughout the seasons, whether it's a competitive group or whether it's the pep band or the groups that march in parades, or, you know, whoever it is. It's just neat to have a front row seat to that, to get to capture all of that, and then the performances and the everything else, you know, from my perspective, are kind of the overflow of that. It's really telling the stories of the people who have chosen to spend their time with us, spend their 4 years, spend their 6 years, spend their entire academic, you know, career in higher ed with us. That's a choice that people have, and they've chosen us. They've chosen Mason, and hopefully will choose Mason. And it's great to be able to get to capture that through photos, video, audio, a little bit of everything. And you know, it's just really great to be able to have access to all these groups from the sideline, and it's just been great. And looking forward to the next 7 years as we grow.
For sure. Let's take a look at kind of the, I like to think of it as the Form Voltron version of the Green Machine, when we get as many ensembles together as possible into one performance. We have a clip of the 2018 Mason Madness performance, which, you know, that's the pep rally at the beginning of the basketball season, where the athletic introduces the new squads, the men's basketball, women's basketball, cheer, dance, the pep band. And we have a clip of our performance from 2018. It's nice to see everybody. Jeez.
I had to take a deep breath after that.
Heart rate's going.
Whew. Yeah.
Paul King, our friend.
Paul King. I drop in on his live streams. I guess he's dropping in on
ours. There's a unique thing going on that we got happening, and the main secret to it is we just really pay attention to the things that people want to be doing, and we just figure out a way to facilitate it, no matter what kind of mess we make. And I'll say we're making the best possible kind of messes. Josh, what does it take to put together a video like that?
Time. a lot of time and teamwork. So shout out to the great crew, first of all, for our Green Machine Media. This year it's 5 of us, myself, Angie, Mackenzie, Mark, and Tina. They've been a great crew this year, a great team to work with this year. For that particular one, we had a crew of several people. I believe it was 6 or 7. I have the production book right here. It looks like it was 7 total with everybody. And, really the time that we put into that 6-minute show, that was a cut down version. The full versions are available on our YouTube channel. We spend easily 40 hours or more in pre-production in mainly the week leading up to each one of those that we've captured. We've done 5 of them now, I believe, 2013 through 2018. And, we go in, I go in and watch the rehearsals, first of all, just watching, taking notes. I record on my phone. Sometimes I'll even record notes, going back and watching those videos on a voice recorder and, just talking about, okay, this is coming up here. And basically what I do is I try to learn the entire show, both the music and the visuals and the drill that's going on. Because typically I'm the one who's on the roving camera because I've spent so much time with it. So I'm going in between people in the band, running around depending on where it's at, and just making sure that I don't trip over something or trip somebody up or anything like that. All the time that goes into that, figuring out the equipment, figuring out what kind of lenses we're going to use, where we're going to put the cameras, working with logistics for the people that are, letting us be able to put the cameras where we need to. Shout out to athletics and the EBA staff who work with us every year to give us that access. And the interesting thing is that there's obviously now there's the Jumbotron screen. That's a camera crew that's there. There's a live stream crew. And then there's our crew. So there's like 3 multicam camera crews that are capturing this. And so
amazing. It's
kind of funny because we kind of barter and say, hey, if you'll give us these first 6 minutes of the show, we'll get out of your way. Just if we can have these locations here, we're out. And so, it's definitely a scale of teamwork that we have going on. And that's not even talking about audio too. Mark hopped on with me, I think in 2016, and he's handled the majority of the audio, including the editing, just figuring out where to put the mics. In fact, in the next clip we have from 2017, in the beginning of it, he actually figured out how to mic people's shoes in the beginning of the show, so that you could just hear the screeching of the rubber shoes on the floor. And it's just such an interesting thing. And then at the end of that, there's a part where the fife and drum core is coming out, and the way that he managed to mic them, you were able to hear them specifically coming out of the mix. And so it's a lot of parts that come together, and it's impossible for one person to do. And so the next clip that we have, every year, more often than not with these, there's a moment where, because I don't believe, Doc, correct me if I'm wrong, nobody's conducting the whole show, right?
That's correct.
It just happens.
Like
it doesn't
maybe
just happen.
a few cues here and there, but for the most part, it is a self-timed thing, and they work together to generate the group time.
Yeah, there's no click track or anything. The lighting, shout out to Atmosphere Lighting for the incredible job the past 2 years. Atmosphere Lighting is an awesome company. If you don't know who they are and you're in the production world, you need to go check them out. They do all kinds of crazy stuff, from Smithsonian to stuff at the National Cathedral. They're just really great folks to do that.
Excellent to work with. Have added a lot to the production.
Yeah, and actually it's funny. I'm usually the one who's there the latest, but in that 2018 one, we were all out of the building and the folks from Atmo were still there. They were programming and just watching the show. They had filmed it on their phone, and they were just, it was incredible. They hit every moment of the show, and it makes my job so much easier when there's a actual full lighting rig there, and I don't have to build it or deal with it. It's great that they are willing to kind of take it to the extra mile with that. Anyways, the next clip that we have is actually an arrangement of what would be if we were cutting the show live, would be a multi-viewer in a TV truck. We don't have that yet, but we film everything separately, but we approach it very much like a multicam production. And so the camera operators, they aren't on headsets, but we brief them before the show. We show them the show. We talk through it, say, here's some of the high moments. They're in rehearsals with us too. And so I'm kind of going around to each camera operator and saying, hey, when you see this happen, and get ready, because this is going to happen. Because a lot of times in some of these shows, things will pop up out of different places. And so you got to be focused on what's happening in the area where the attention isn't right now. But anyways, every one of these shows, typically, more often than not, if that makes any sense, there's a moment towards the end where Doc will come out and he will do like the final hit or something. And from the very first one, it seemed like a really great opportunity to kind of capture this perspective of Doc and then the whole band. And so going back to the multi-view, what you're going to see is you're going to see that moment towards the end of this show in 2017. The catch was usually they put Doc down where you saw him in the last video, very close to the floor. So I just kind of run with my gimbal and get it. With this one, he was up on the concourse level. So after running around for like 4 minutes in the show, I had to run up the stairs through the concourse level, get him, and then there was just enough time to be able to go back down to the floor to get the ceremonial core at the very end. We actually had to send Mark as a runner to clear the path because I was not planning to stop between there and there, no matter what was in our way. So he was going and kind of talking with people, saying, hey, move out of the way, somebody's coming. And there's actually a point where I lose my shoe halfway up the stairs. So that was fun. But you're going to see that in this next click here. So let's check out the multi-view of Mason Madness 2017.
The choreography that you just wouldn't even know was there, and it was essential, And then I also love the crowd didn't know when it was going to be over, so we cued them with the mascot bowing. It's over. Yep. Oh, everyone will clap now. That gets me every time.
Yeah,
that's really, really cool.
That doesn't happen by accident either.
Wow,
I mean,
and
can't just wing that.
A dangerous little move there, trying to get in place like that.
It's like down to the
so
minute.
The next thing we're going to move towards is, you saw different components on the floor. You saw the pep band, you saw the drum line, you saw some color guard members, and like I said, we're trying to build this athletic band program, and George Mason doesn't have D1 football. So what do? All this stuff is worth teaching. We have some great instructors, some great designers, and obviously a million great behind the scenes folks. The idea early on was, well, if we can't do home football games, maybe we can connect, with the community and have a great time putting a program together if we focus on competitive marching. The Atlantic Indoor Association and the Winter Guard International every year have their competitions all over the place. And so we decided to start getting into that. And we've done pretty well. We've won 2 open class championships, and the latest one being our Winter Guard in 2019. And Josh put together an amazing clip of that experience. Let's take a look.
Presenting the 2019 WGI Sport of the Arts Independent Open Class Champion, George Mason University.
Okay, so I'm a little emotional.
Breath, everybody.
One, just the inspiration of that moment, particularly that group was just a very, very special group. I also have my hats off to Lindell Palmer and everything he's done for us and everything he does for our members, and for the activity as a whole. Especially we got our last glimpse of the famous dreadlocks in that clip, which is another nice retrospective. But that group scored a 99. In the 40 years of that circuit. That was not only the the second highest in our class that had ever been achieved, but it was the sixth highest overall in the entire history of the circuit. So kudos to that group and all of their hard work, and thanks to the university for all of the tributaries that make this work possible. That group, along with our indoor drum line, our seasons got cut short. The championships are scheduled for the beginning of April every year, so we got well into the season. We got choreography and music learned, and the drum line actually had the entire show ready. And we had to cut it loose because of all the competitions closed, and it just wasn't going to be safe to continue. But those groups are a great family, and we'll be looking forward to figuring out what we do next. There'll be some period where we may have to adjust what the activity is until we get ourselves ready for the next round of competition. And in the meantime, be ready for a bunch of fun videos and maybe some online instruction, and we'll be building that up over the summer and figuring out how all that works. So moving on, we have a clip from our fife and drum corps, and Josh, you have a unique experience working with that group.
Oh yeah, they're every group is awesome, but fife and drum corps especially, just the level of musicianship that's there, as well as the professionalism and just the world that is fife and drum that I never knew anything about until I went with them to Williamsburg and just saw all the other groups that were doing what they did, and they were right in there with them. I mean, it's an incredible art form that you don't always, you don't hear it on the radio per se, but when you go and experience it, it's incredible. And the interesting thing about both fife and drum and the Regiment Band is they do a lot of parades, which is something that you think, oh, it's a parade, that's fun, let's go see the parade. And so you go and you sit at a parade and you watch, and people trot on by, and then you're good to go. But when you're filming a parade, it's a little bit different, especially without a go-kart. Or a golf cart rather, because you're starting with them and it's all fun. You're getting your shot. And you realize they're moving and you're not, and so then you kind of huff up the road a little bit, and then you get there, and then you realize they're still moving, and so it's this kind of cat and mouse game where you're running ahead far enough to be able to get set, catch your breath, and then get maybe like a 3 to 5 second take. And of that, you're going to have like 2 or 3 seconds of footage, and then you're going to run up and do it again. And then you got to figure out how to make it different. So you're like crossing around and all this kind of stuff. There's some project that we did. I think Mark and Ortina both were out capturing one of those two groups, and the parade route was in like a small town. And they're like, I'm watching the footage back, and they're like running directly through people's like front yards and stuff to like get there. It's kind of like a chase scene in a movie where people are just running through whatever. And so it's just really, it's a very unique thing. It's a lot of fun. It's just to see that level of musicianship is really neat. So we have a reel of a couple of clips from fife and drum that you can check out from over the years. That was a nice little look back at all the different things on there. And one of the things that's really interesting about a lot of these pieces that we put out, kind of going back even to the color guard piece, a lot of times just by the nature of what we're doing, we don't necessarily have a full camera crew. We don't have the resources to have several people, running around. And so a lot of times what we try to focus on is just capturing the feelings, the emotions, what's going into it. And it's amazing to see the journey, both in the season, but also at the performances. And so partly by nature of just when you're one person running around, you have to choose what you're going to capture when, and part just because it suits it. We do interviews, we do some pieces, but we don't have to put an interview or have to put any spoken word into a piece a lot of times, and that's intentional, because sometimes the actual process or the performance, it speaks for itself. There are times where we do approach it and we do, we want to hear from people, we want to hear from different perspectives, but a lot of times there's just something about seeing the process. The performance isn't everything. There's stuff that goes on beforehand, both in rehearsal, the load-ins, the WGI events, in the lot or in the tunnel or stuff like that. Just little moments that kind of speak to, that there's more than what the audience sees that's going into this. And that's something that is a big part of what we do, is we're capturing those things that, the viewer might not be able to see if we didn't show it to them. So the next clip that we have here is very similar in style, but it's of our regiment band, and it also features some parade footage. Nice. Very, very nice.
All right. So yeah, thanks for putting all that together, Josh. And and also my thanks to all the great directors of those groups, the Fife and Drum, Shane Nichols and Emily Barone, who've been making that thing go, and Chris Troiano, who has done so much to build up that Civil War era brass band. And then thanks to you, Josh, for running all over the country and figuring out how we can make sure that the world knows what we're up to, because it's easy to get a few thousand people to a basketball game, but many people don't even know about the competitive marching and or may not necessarily know about the specific parades and other ceremonies we have going on. So just keeping people in the loop of what's happening, and showing how there are so many ways express ourselves, and some really worthwhile things to teach that go across the board, especially as we're trying to focus on a wide range of the American experience through marching band, through outdoor performance, through competition, all the different ways you can kind of think about what we have going on. And so we got a short that shows off our banquet. And why don't we, Josh? Can you tell us what that clip is?
Yeah. So the next clip that we have is from the drumline, GMU indoor drumline. This was edited by Tina Tellup, featuring footage from both her and I. So one of the things that Doc had talked about earlier on, when the pandemic broke out, we over the course of about a week, we watched our production calendar go from being very full to completely empty. And we were kind of like, you think about you're in one of those little games where you're grabbing for like money in the air and stuff. We were grabbing for any opportunity to either land projects. We had 2 things we were trying to film, and literally every day we were emailing different locations trying to see if we could get those interviews filmed. And then with the competitive groups, we were trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to kind of wrap this up? As I often say internally, had I known that these were going to be the last, the first and last shows that we were going to film of these groups, might have approached it a little bit differently. But of course we didn't know that. And so this video is a compilation of some of the clips that served as an intro to the banquet this year for the drumline section. And so we're going to check that out now. Nice. Great job to Tina for taking 2 shows worth of video and making something really cool out of that. I think what we're looking to move to soon is some questions. You can put them in the comments and we will check them out too. So if you have any questions, now is definitely the time to go ahead and drop those questions in the chat. And so, yeah, we hope you've enjoyed getting to see several of the different pieces that we've been able to put together over the years. It's just been really, really neat to see how how all this comes together. For me, like I said in the beginning, I'm just kind of getting a front row seat to everything and seeing how these things come together. Some of the favorite moments that I've had over the years have just been to go in and walk into a room full of strangers and leave knowing a little bit more about them, whether it's their performance style or their stories, or whatever it may be. Each ensemble each year is a unique experience, and we try our best to highlight that each year when there's when there's just so many things that go on, and we want to try to make sure that exactly that we're covering all these things, and we're doing our due diligence to making sure that our audience and the Mason community gets to experience these types of things. One thing that the Doc had talked about, Doc's back with us, is we had been talking about some of the digital performances that we've been looking at. And so, Doc, not sure if you want to talk a little bit about that.
So we've been figuring our new selves out. If everyone's going to be quarantined, different places, and especially when they have some time on their hands. Of course, as the semesters finishing, they didn't have a whole lot of time. Get ready for a bunch of online collaborations that have been going on. Different ensembles, current students, alumni. I even have a little silly project I've been doing. I just took a little clip of myself playing an accompaniment and have sent it around to a bunch of friends, and they're starting to roll in, and they're a lot of fun to see what everyone comes up with. You can check those out on my Facebook, Michael Nickens. What has been my favorite project? Okay, yeah, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the question and answer session. Because it's going to be a whole lot more fun. My favorite project is always the banquet, because by the time we get to the banquet, we've accomplished things all over the Eastern Seaboard, into the Midwest, different types of things on campus. Who knows what kind of crazy event might have happened. You might get called up to do, I don't know, the World Series, or you might have a local event that really brings the community together. And then you go through the entire year and you're just at this breakneck pace. And then you finally get this chance to see it all in one place. And you see this video that goes through, and then the beauty of, our ability to put it online and go back to it whenever we're feeling like we want that shot in the arm of nostalgia.
My favorite project, by far, not favorite ensemble, because I don't have one of those. They're all great, but favorite project to work on so far was that Mason Open 2019 World Championships video. That was just a special happening. When you have the chance to know that these groups of performers are very possibly going to be the ones that are going to win their section of the competition. It's just an entirely different energy. And the funniest thing is, I've never been a competitive person per se, not really very sporty, but the way that I am walking out on the floor with them and rooting for them inside, like when they're announcing scores and stuff inside, I'm going like, come on. And it's just kind of funny because I don't really get that, for anything else. But I'm cheering them on as much as I can. And I remember getting very emotional on the floor. You see the camera shake. It was just because I was tired. Now, it was very emotional to get to just see the expressions and be in that moment. I didn't perform competitively a lot, but kind of being able to be there with them is just, it's my favorite moment, and that was my favorite project. One really interesting question that came up: what percentage of students in these groups are music majors? Doc, go for it.
So when we started, I would have said it was a very high percentage, something like 80 to 90% were music majors. By now, we're kind of hanging around more like 20%. But also know that's not necessarily because of dwindling participation. Although as all the programs grow, it gets harder to be able to do everything. But really, it's the immense growth across the entire university. I wouldn't be surprised. I know for sure every college has some kind of representation. But like we've measured and we've had 55 to 60 different majors represented in the groups. So it's really open to everybody, and our competitive groups and even the pep band. We have members that are just from the community that aren't even currently enrolled. I mean, sometimes they're alums or sometimes they're just close friends. But we really make this about everyone we can make it about. And we're much richer for it.
One interesting side component to that, if somebody were asked the question, how many of our media producers are media majors? We do have a lot of some of us have taken either film school courses or media courses or things like that. But we have all had some connection to music. Actually, that's kind of the uniting factor. We have a lot of people, who come to us from different backgrounds, and it's neat to see some of the approaches that you get from people who are musicians who then come into this and look at capturing these things and telling stories through that. It's very similar to the band almost in that way, and the groups as a whole. What sort of practice is involved in one basketball game?
Man, that's a loaded question. It'll all depend on what we're trying to accomplish. Sometimes I'll say we can put together a song. We've even put together songs pregame that we're going to perform at that game, and it's a real it just shows off the strength of our arrangers and our teachers. Not only the ones in the group, but everyone in our community who has helped to get these musicians and performers ready to perform. And then we can come in at the last minute, put a song in front of everybody, and perform it that afternoon. And we've done that. And then another way to look at it is the good thing about basketball is there's 40 home games, between the men and the women. And we'll spend a lot of time crafting a tune over many performances. So it's almost to the point where every performance is also preparation for the next performance. We're obviously not stopping and, fixing things on the spot, but you learn a lot running songs through and just seeing how the crowd responds. Also figuring out where in the game it should go. So many times we put a song in and then you called it the wrong time. And oh my gosh, it's the greatest song, but it's a dud because you picked the wrong part of the game. Or the opposite, where I've been in it long enough that I can kind of tell certain things that are going to happen in the games, and I can call up a certain song. And if we get the right chance to get the whole crowd singing and dancing, clapping, stomping, whatever, some of them are celebratory. Some of them are literally there to taunt the other team, and which is a lot of fun to do too. And so it's just all of that kind of goes every time. Every performance gives us some information of what we should be doing next time. But the main thing with the basketball band is, we have a once a week time slot that we get to rehearse. We get about 2.5 hours. So in that, warm-ups, sectionals, run through tunes, sight read some things, clean some other things. And we just are blessed with such strong performers with open minds that we're able to pull that off week after week, even if our rehearsal gets canceled sometimes.
How are you all continuing to connect right now while everyone is apart? I can say for us, we're watching, replaying, repurposing a lot of the content that we've had just to keep in the forefronts of our minds what we do, and just looking towards what is to come ahead by what we've done, but more specifically in the present, what we're doing to stay connected. Doc, you want to?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Some of it is all through our social media. We've had a strong social media presence for years. So just even keeping up on Facebook and commenting on each other's pictures, memes, videos, whatever, status updates. And then, we have different teams that work on different things. So we've been making the most of Zoom, WebEx, Blackboard, FaceTime, all of the above, and just making sure that we see each other regularly as often as we can. And then as we get to know the software better, acapella's been a lot of fun. And then some of it is literally just slapping different takes together in iMovie or whatever. and just doing what we can to line up to make something, creative, productive, dare I say artistic, maybe some of them.
I'm going to rapid fire through 2 questions, then we'll get to Julie's question. Tina says, is the future of video production all via video conferences? I sure hope not. And what's the furthest I've driven personally? Probably to Dayton twice for 2019. And
what was the last one?
The question, what's the furthest you've driven? I guess for me would be to Dayton. Right. That's the furthest drive I've ever taken with an SUV full of equipment twice. And I see my mom commented, she's so sweet. I will shout out and say that everything that I am able to do is because my mom believed in me. I actually, right here, I brought a prop. This is the first camera I ever had. She bought it for me. First camera, first lens. And that's why I was able to do it. I ran around with this thing I still use it, in fact, as late as this past year, actually. Still use it from 2011 or 2010 when she bought this for me. And since then, she's just been so supportive. So thank you, Mommy. I love you. Question from Julie was, let's see, Julie, what do you see in the future and the trajectory of Green Machine Media? Doc, I think you talked a little bit about that at the beginning. As things grow and develop with the ensembles, of course, naturally, we're going to keep growing too in our coverage, both in our team structure, who we have covering different things. I think one of the things that's a really unique area that we're seeing now is we're seeing a trend of people really becoming very interested in the docuseries approach to things, which would be documentary or reality series, what it used to be called. And that's kind of an interesting thing when you think about exploring that on a smaller scale. The majority of what we do is documenting the seasons, documenting the journeys that everybody's going on. And so I think just kind of seeing where those trends go, seeing what people are really identifying with, and just seeing ways in which we can, structure our coverage around perhaps maybe some longer form content that's kind of checking in on these groups and really looking at what's going on from a level that's not all beauty shots necessarily, but tells more of the stories in a more structured approach over time.
It'll help with our ability to communicate about the groups. It's like part of our research and part of our productivity. I'd say a really important thing that I sense happening and want to do more of in the future. The videos themselves are our product. It's like we work very hard to do live performance, but the value of keeping in mind that we have a strongly produced video presentation of the performance as if the video itself was the end goal. Those performances live on, in perpetuity after we've done this thing that may happen literally one time when we perform the Madness show. It literally happens one performance. So many hours go into it, and we have a 6-minute run through, and that's the end of it. But the videos, it's like one, just being able to enjoy it for what it is. Recruit with the video, fundraise with the video, show off our spirit and our personality with the video. So I see us always incorporating it in as inextricable part of what our production goals are.
And one thing I'll add to, and I would say this if Doc wasn't here because I say this a lot, the partnership that I and we as the media team have with the performers and with Doc and the directors is something that is not common, surprisingly, and is not something that exists in a lot of places. I mean, I never feel like I'm having to tiptoe around him or the band or the performers or anything. There's no, oh, we got to be careful and watch out for this, or oh, don't shake this up too much. I mean, Doc will look over the shoulder and be like, you good? You got that shot? There are times, when he knows now that when we do a performance for camera in a live environment, he knows to structure the performances. He knows we need at least 2 run-throughs of a song to be able to capture everything that we need. And it's not even a question sometimes. It's just like, oh yeah, I know you got to do this. Like, let's do it. And just the partnership and the collaboration is something that I really appreciate, because I don't feel like I'm having to always guess at what the deliverable should be or what direction should this project take. He trusts me to be able to do things, what I know how to do, and then I'll bounce it back and get his ideas and stuff. But it really is a partnership that we do, and I think that's kind of what makes us a bit unique. Is just that approach that these are our creations that we're putting out. The media is just as involved in the performance, as the audience is involved in the performance, as the performers are. Everything. It's just really a unique partnership that makes it really fun and really enjoyable. It's not stressful. It's not, it's tiring sometimes. Like you ask anybody in the media industry, they're going to say it's tiring, but it's fun and it's fulfilling, and it's just really unique to be able to be a partner in creating this and not just fulfilling requests and stuff.
On that partnership, and trust particularly, there's so many of the videos, especially the ones that kind of show here's what we're doing on this trip. And yeah, there's a little splash of performance in it, but you're seeing a lot of what it takes to actually move the band up and down the highway or whatever. And Josh will not appear in it, won't say a word in it, but you can hear his voice screaming the entire time. Really showing off just what's beautiful about all the things we're doing, not just the performing. In fact, how the performance, you like the performance really because of how much fun this group has sitting in a food court and just talking about the day or whatever. And all of that goes together, and you can just hear Josh's soul speaking through all that. And so talk about trust. Like I always know that's going to be there. And some really moving moments on these little 30-second, even little teaser clips that go out. So, all right.
I appreciate that. One last question. Yeah. I very much appreciate that. I try to be a mirror, and that's an important aspect of it. In that, and so I really appreciate the partnership and the kind words. Last question is from Evan. Are you all on TikTok yet with either your music and/or dance? I guess we got to get into that. For those of you who don't know Evan is the photographer that we all try to be and just never quite measure up to. Fantastic photos. In fact, shout out to everybody at OCM and Creative Services. They are awesome folks. You're going to get to see their work coming up in a week with the celebration. We love getting to work with them. Just inspired by what they put out. Just photos all the time. Just blow my mind. And so TikTok, we'll have to check that out. And see. That sounds pretty interesting.
It seems like a good fit to me.
Seems like a good thing. So I think that's everything. We've covered a lot. Thank you all for hanging in there with us as we've gotten to look over some clips, get to kind of hear some stories behind it. You can check out more of what we do and what we are going to do. greenmachine.tv. You can type that in your browser. You can check it out. You can also visit greenmachine.gmu.edu. You can learn more about our ensembles. You can join. You can give. You can
support everything. Us. There's a Give Now button. Find the Give Now button. That's the and whoever finds the Give Now button first gets a extra special prize that I'll figure out what that is later.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in joining Green Machine Media, you can send us an email at gmedia, gmedia@gmu.edu. We'll find a place for you. We have a place for everybody, even in the midst of everything that's going on. Thanks to Center for the Arts, CFA, everybody for organizing this. It has been a blast. Thank you all so much.
Yeah, and thanks for having us. And I guess what's next from us is you'll see us at some various degree celebration, graduate celebration presentations that'll be happening over the next week. The College of Humanities and Social Sciences will be featuring a Green Machine performance, and the university commencement also will be. So look for some of your favorite members and alums. And I also got to give a shout to everyone who participated and all that. And thanks for Josh for helping me put it all together. And thanks for joining us here today. And we'll look forward to hearing from you, and stay safe, stay home, and take good care of each other.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.